Well, hello. I'd like to welcome you start that over. Well, hello. I'd like to welcome you to my review of the Rexall Monogram fountain pen. This is a store brand fountain pen made for Rexall drugs back in the 1920s, possibly into the 1930s. And I will just give credit right away to ChrisRap52, who I put a link down below in the video description to his own review of a very similar but not quite the same pen, as you'll see if you click on his video. So let's dive into the pen. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens, both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. If you'd like to comment on the Rexall Monogram or other store brand pens, please, or maybe talk about the ink I used in this pen, I would invite you to leave a comment down below. So let's dive into the pen. Now before I do that, I would just like to point out that this is a low-cost pen, or was a low-cost pen at its time, sold for about $5. This was meant to be a low-cost pen for the masses. So don't look for whoa type of pen, but look for what is a decently impressive pen. Now, I wrote down not a lot of details, but a few details just about the history. So you may have noticed, I like to match sort of the color of my titles to the color of the pen. I made an exception this time. I tried to match it sort of to the Rexall drug colors, if you remember Rexall drug signs. When I lived in Turtle Lake, North Dakota, there was a Rexall drug there. In fact, this is a picture of the main street with Rexall drug right at the head of the main street. I'll probably put an arrow there because I'm sitting here. I can't remember where it's appearing on the green screen. But anyway, Rexall drug on the main street. They used to be a lot more common. They're sort of disappearing now as chain pharmacies take over. Rexall was more about the more independent pharmacies, which, fun fact, if you don't know, in North Dakota, pharmacies have to be owned by the pharmacist, which means we basically have a lot of locally owned pharmacies. You don't see a lot of Rite Aids and White Drug and so on, Walgreens. You will see a few, what is it, CVS, I think, escaped that law because they were established here already. I may be wrong about that, so don't fact check me, but you know, it is an interesting pharmacy law that there have been some attempts at repealing it, on the part of our right-wing legislature and right-wing business interests that don't care about local business and just want, their chains to get in so somebody out of state can make the money. But anyway, politics, that's the reality in North Dakota. So that's why there's maybe more Rexalls around. I knew the one in Turtle Lake. I knew the pharmacist. I taught all three of his kids. But anyway, this pen is made by Monogram for Rexall. I remember an old Rexall in Olean, New York when I was a kid. It was like the old-fashioned 1920s type of drugstore. Even had a wood cash register with a crank you pull down to ring stuff up. Not there anymore. It's been torn down, replaced by a CVS. You'll still see the name Rexall at your Dollar General store, which I have to be honest, I know they exist, but I've never been in a Dollar General. I've heard of them, I've seen them, I've just never been in one. But apparently Rexall has a line of health and beauty products that are sold at the Dollar General store. There is a Canadian relation, but I'm a little unclear how they're connected. I couldn't figure that out. And Rexall has struggled to compete with national chains. It was an opportunity to do bulk buying, but still have your own independent pharmacy, basically. The pen is made out of hard rubber, and we'll take a look at a few of the features here. So that's the end of my research. Let's take a look here. So first of all, rubber pen has a striped body, lever filler. The lever is interesting. I'll come back to it. You'll see on the clip the word monogram. That's because that's who was asked to make this store brand pen, I guess. Here on the barrel, the monogram pen, non-breakable. Oh, suddenly I want to test that, but no, I will not. Not on a pen that's old enough to be my grandfather. Sold only at the Rexall store and patented. No real finials. This, like I said, it was a low-cost pen. Now this is interesting. Well, somebody bid it, not me. This is a little safety thing. So let's just say you're putting your pen in your pocket. I have not had it happen, but apparently your lever fillers can catch on the way in, especially maybe if it's turned the other way. This one seems to be backwards from how I would think of it, or maybe it's how it's capped. Okay, yeah, I can get it closer. Dang, now I want to refill my title. But anyway, you're putting it in your pocket and it catches on your shirt and whoop, out comes the lever, and the next thing you know, you have a cap full of ink, which then drips down into your shirt. And if you're using red ink, people go, "Oh, he's been shot!" So, yeah, neat little safety catch thing, which I think is a nice touch, especially on a low-cost pen like this. Uncap it. The ink I used in it, I like how it looks on the paper, but it makes it look like my nib is rusting. In fact, you can't even read what's on the nib. A very intricate carved feed. Of course, it's ebonite from the era. The ink definitely is a crusty one. Why I put this exotic ink into one of my vintage pens, don't ask me. I am sorry. And I won't make that mistake again. But anyway, when you clean the crap off the nib, sorry, I just swore, it says Monogram SL. And it has a heart-shaped breather hole, which is a neat little touch. Because Rexall cares about its customers. I don't know if that's actually a advertising logo, but think this is the era of Lifebuoy soap and Lux soap and all that stuff. Yeah, actually might be before that. I just grabbed the wrong notebook. Holy cow, I've got so many things floating around over here. So let's write with it, and then I'll share my feelings. The ink is one that a viewer sent me. It's a Krishna Jungle Volcano, and I have been told by a viewer or two that it does not look like Jungle Volcano. I don't know. I can only go with the label that was on the bottle. I do know it has some sheen to it, and there's a little bit of sludge in the bottle, which may be part of what the crusties are. I also know that as soon as this video is over, I will be cleaning this pen out and not finishing it because I'm uncomfortable with this in my vintage pen. But we're here, so let's move on. Is it a flex writer? I wouldn't go so far as to call it wet noodle or even flexy, but I'd say it definitely has some good line variation, a little bit of bounce, some softness. Kind of a fun nib. Wetness and flow. That ink is why you're not going to see this pen in Pens in Use this go around, because I want it out of this pen. I'd say it's pretty wet, even with the weird crusties and growths that this ink is causing. Sorry, I'm being really nasty. I like the ink, actually. I just, perhaps not in this pen. Smear test. I'd say it's pretty wet, although that also is a test of the ink. And reverse writing. Reverse, reverse, reverse. Scratchy. Meh. As one of my viewers pointed out, that it's not like you're usually wanting to do reverse writing anyway. Most people don't. It's just a feature I get asked about, which is why I continue to do it. So, if you can't tell, I like this pen, so for that reason I'm going to dive into an excessively long quote for this pen. Sinclair Lewis again, since I seem to be on a Sinclair Lewis kick right now. And I will be reading a few of his books this summer, and would love to go visit Sauk Center. I may not want to after I read Main Street, but we'll see. I think this comes from Main Street also. Oh, I'll just point out that the ink is starting to go across the nib. There is nib creep no matter what I put in this pen. We'll see if I'm allowed to stay in my small town after using that quote. But anyway, so I'll give you a couple impressions of the pen. First of all, it is a nice writer. It's not amazing. It's not a flex writer, but it's fun in its own right. It has its own softness. I think it has a very nice wet flow to it. I think it has some very nice touches in its construction, like the little mechanism for catching the lever. I'd say the nib is very smooth. I like the grip. It's not much, but it's scalloped and covered with crusties already, which there must be crusties in the cap. Yeah, definitely cleaning this pen out before I go to bed tonight. Sorry, I do like the color of the ink. I'm just not in this pen, apparently. I like the slim black look. A nice understated pen, yet with a little bit of design to it. I like the ethos, you know, making a nice pen that's affordable for the masses. You know, it's just all around a good pen. It would be a fairly easy one to fix. You know, it's a lever filler. They're usually pretty straightforward, although one of my batch reviews tonight is one that's not. It's just an all-around good pen and definitely a surprise with that nib. That's why I chose such a long quote to go with it. So I hope that was interesting. I hope it was useful. And if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, and yes, it's vintage, but it's a low-cost vintage, please feel free to subscribe. If you'd like to talk about this pen or pens like it, I would invite you to leave a comment in the video down below, or in the comment section down below. Maybe you want to take me to task for quoting Sinclair Lewis. So anyway, I thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.